I want to talk about priorities today because I think priorities matter an awful lot more than we sometimes think they do in life and especially in faith. In chapter 6 of the book of Matthew, there's a place where Jesus talks about worry, and he's talking about how it's so easy for us to worry about what we'll eat and what we'll drink and what we will wear and all the common concerns of life. And he tells us not to worry, and he affirms that we are valuable to God and that God will take care of us. But then he says something really important in Matthew 6:33. He says, "But seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all of these things will be added to you as well." And I think that Jesus is really pointing to priorities there. I think he's pointing to the fact that often living into the promises of God has a lot to do with whether we're pursuing the promises of God, what priority they are in our lives. And so I think it's important for us to examine what are our priorities and in our spiritual lives and in our lives overall. And one of the things that I think we can find when we do that is that there can be times in life when the trouble that we're running into is the result of the fact that we're not putting Jesus first, or we're not putting his kingdom values first. If I'm struggling in my spiritual life, if I'm not putting Jesus first, spending time with him, reading the Bible, going to church, then of course I'm going to have trouble living into the promise of a deep and rich relationship with Jesus. But it works for other things as well. If I'm having trouble in my relationship, maybe it's because I'm not living into the kingdom values of love and of kindness. If I'm having trouble at work, maybe I'm not living into the kingdom values of honesty and integrity. And so we have to seek to put Jesus and his kingdom values first in our lives. And when we don't, like I said, we often run into problems in our spiritual lives and in our life. And I think so often we don't see that. We just wonder, well, what's the reason that things are going wrong? So I want to invite us all to take a few minutes into this week and to examine our priorities, and in particular in those places where we might be having a hard time in a relationship, at work, or with friends, to examine our priorities there and to think about how we may or may not be living into our kingdom values and may or may not be living into putting Jesus first in our lives.